You ready? All right. So my name is Luis Ramirez with the on the Conversation Podcast. Today we have Christopher Norris. He's also known as Chris Norris. He's a chief petty officer in the U.S. Navy, currently living in Misawa, Japan. I'm really grateful to have you on board over here. It's 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time in Columbus, Ohio, and over there is 9:30 a.m. over there in Misawa, Japan. So you're from the future, as some say. So. uh,
Absolutely.
so, Chief Petty Officer, I want to make sure that I give you the floor, but I know you're an aspiring addiction counselor, and some breaking news right now that you were mentioning to me before we even got started about David Clark. He's a sober. I think you mentioned he was a sober ultra athlete. Why don't
hmm
you, first of all, introduce yourself if you don't mind, and then highlight about David Clark a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So thanks for having me on, Luis. It's really an honor to be given a space to talk and a floor. I really appreciate that.
You're
And
welcome.
yeah, so yeah, so who am I? I'm Chris Norris, and I am a chief of petty officer of the United States Navy, and I'm currently living in Japan, and I'm at the end of it'll be a 24-year career in the Navy. I'm originally from upstate New York, Albany. I'm married to a beautiful girl from Thailand, and we have a gorgeous 7-year-old daughter. And yeah, I am currently still in school for human services, a concentration on substance abuse, and I plan to move on to a master's after that. And I would like to get into addictions counseling and process addiction, substance abuse type stuff, and also mental health. So yeah, I had mentioned David Clark because I too am in recovery from a alcohol use disorder now for 13 years, and a part of my story is that about at 8 years sober, I found myself on a Navy deployment off the coast of California, locked on this little island called San Clemente. And I know there's days probably where the listeners think that it'd be really nice to be just get away to a deserted island, and it sounds great until you're actually on a deserted island, and
So,
then boredom and tedious stuff. Go ahead.
no,
What
I
were
was
you
gonna
saying?
say, what were you doing in that? Was that part of the Navy's?
Yeah, it was part of the
Programs?
deployment.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh!
I'm in the so I'm in a really so this is here's a funny thing. I'm in the Navy 23 years, and I was on a ship once for about 10 days. So I'm a dirt sailor. I'm a Seavey. I'm in the construction battalions. So it's such a kind of weird thing for people to grasp sometimes is that I've been in the Navy for over 20 years, and I rarely see myself on the ship, if ever. So yeah, I've been wearing camouflage uniforms my whole career. I'm just not. I'm in a small little part of the Navy. But anyway, we were out there on a deployment because there is a quarry out there, and It's the only active rock quarry in the military, and we maintain it, and we practice our trade out there of blasting and crushing and making stone. And so that's what I was doing out there.
Got it. Got it.
But so on these deployments, there wasn't much of a support network that I was used to out there. I didn't have the meetings that I was used to attending on shore, and it was the Wi-Fi was terrible, and it was just like it was turned into a bad situation quickly. So there didn't seem to be much to do out there other than drink and fish, and I wasn't really interested in either of those things. So I was doing some trail running before that a little bit, 5Ks, 10Ks, maybe like a half marathon here and there, but nothing really too much. So, but I decided after I was watching YouTube and I Googled like proper running form, and then from there I got this film called Western Time that was made by Billy Yang. And if you've never seen Western Time by Billy Yang, I highly recommend it. It talks to the story of Sally McRae, and it was just such an inspirational film. And I remember watching it and had the Western States 100 in there, and I was like, oh my gosh, like people do that? Like people actually run 100 miles at a time in like less than a day? And I saw like the suffering, and I saw the triumph, and I saw all the emotions surrounding it, and I was like, I want in on this. Like, I want to do this. But knowing knowing my addictive nature, I was like, I got to try to be smart about it though, because I don't want to just like, am I just going to sign up for a 100-mile race, right? So I was like, but I am going to train for a marathon. So that's what I did. I ordered shoes off Amazon. It took a couple of weeks for them to get there to the islands. Like, it's got to come on a barge, and and
Nothing comes easy, huh?
nothing comes quick. You can actually see it. Like, oh, here comes my shoes, and they're like coming in. They're slowly making their way to you at like 6 knots. It's miles away. So yeah, but I got those shoes, and then I downloaded a free training plan from the internet, and I started to run, and I loved it. I love the discipline of it. I loved waking up at, before the crack of dawn, and lacing up and going for a run, and running after work, and just I was running all the time, training my butt off. And I remember some of my coworkers would say, like, I see you like you run a lot, and I'm like, yeah, like I run to take care of stress, and I run to burn off the cortisol, and to keep myself in my happy place. And they're like, we see you running like every day. Like, yeah, well, this is a pretty stressful place. But anyway, I trained for a marathon, and I done that, and I did quite well. And then I decided to train for an ultra, somewhere around 50K, and then I just went from there. And it's that the running and the discipline and the exercise and all the experiences brought me has really been beneficial to keep me in my happy place and help me stay sober and stay in recovery. So David Clark, yeah. So I just found that out about, I don't know, maybe an hour ago, that he had passed away. I actually just done a virtual 10K this morning on the treadmill, and then I got cleaned up from that, and I came back here, and I saw the news, and I can't believe it, like all the people that you would think that would, that wouldn't that would pass away. It wouldn't be David Clark, because he seemed to be made of steel. His podcast was called We Are Superman, and he really was like Superman. So this guy he was quite the inspiration for me. He was a former 320-pound alcoholic, drug addict, fast food junkie that turned his life around, and began to pursue ultra endurance endeavors, to a point where I'm not even close to that, man. This guy was really, he was doing the Badwater 135. He was doing I think he did a 48-hour treadmill run once. He ran across America, and now he was big into. He got into ultra. I remember he got into ultimate fighting for a little bit, MMA, and he had an Achilles tendon injury, and then he went into bicycling, and I think he was training to do the Race Across America, and he was just always, he's just really inspirational. A lot of stuff he did, he really brought light to the the recovery community, and he will be definitely missed.
So no, my condolences definitely to the Clark family for his loss. So this happened today, as you mentioned. I have not heard about it yet. I heard it from you, and I was kind of shocked myself. And I pulled up this article on Runner's World, and the first thing it brings up is his struggles with with some drugs like Vicodin, Percocet, codeine. And then also, he was it seems that he was an entrepreneur as well, where he lost a mattress company worth $8 million, right? So think about that, right? That's the stress level. And I'm saying this because I know before we even started talking, I introduced some of the things that I wanted to chat with you about. Is one of those things is that people look at us as freakazoids, because they're like, how in the world, because they see that they're, with all due respect to anybody out there who's lacing up their sneakers and goes out there and treks 5Ks, 10Ks, whatever. That's awesome. But there's other people out there that do marathons. That's awesome as well. But there's some silent people out there that actually do those 5Ks for training runs for an ultramarathon, right? And an ultramarathon, by definition, whoever, depending on who you speak to, is, we can have a debate about this, whether it's a distance more than 26.2 miles or whatever. irrespective of the fact, you and I know, and everybody else know, and David also knew that in ultramarathon, man, you're pretty much suffering the whole way through. But one thing that I think is everybody has a story, right? And
Hmm.
that's, when you told me this, and I started reading about his stress, the stress that he had, and then he weighed 320 pounds. You started telling me that he started basically jogging 20 seconds at a time, right? Or 15 seconds at a time.
And something like that. Yeah, I remember when his story, he was talking about how he would get on the treadmill and then he would start it up to a jog, and then he would be able to jog for just you know less than a minute at a time, and he just worked his way up and built his way up and built his way up and built his way up until he did a 5K. And I remember, I think in his story as well, he talked about how, like, seeing that bib, his number, and it said runner on it. Like rather than, so it's this changing of identity,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
you may be so identified with so much of, like, I'm a drug addict, I'm an alcoholic, I'm this, I'm
huh?
that, I'm a failed businessman, to start changing the dialogue. Like, I got a bracelet on today that's addict to athlete, heart of a champion. And that's a big part of that, is like these labels that we put on ourselves, that
Yeah,
I'm a person in long-term recovery, but I'm so much more than that, you
of
know
course, of course.
and it's like that's part of my story. And that's like, geez, in the world of ultra, I think it's even probably beneficial for me. I think I got the upper edge because I can take a lot of pain. I
Dude,
can take a lot of suffering.
I could tell you, the first DNF that I ever got was, which I think was my first ultra marathon. I was at that time I was like, I'm such an idiot. I went from a half marathon. I went from a half marathon to a marathon. I tried Boston a
Yeah.
couple times through the
Hmm.
charity, trying to break the 330 number. I was like, all right,
Oh my
I'm a
gosh,
fat
it's
ass.
hard.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a fat ass. I'm never gonna do this. But I still
It's
had
hard.
energy. It was
Yeah.
hard. I still had energy. And then I said, you know what? I'm gonna jump into a 50K. I did the 50K. I
Hmm.
still had energy. I'm like, oh, let me go do 100K.
Hmm.
And that 100K, I learned a lot of valuable lessons. But there was one, the ultimate winner. I think it was a female, and she dominated the entire fucking race, man. Um, and talk about, when I looked at her, she was like, I could have done a lot better. I was like, what the
Mm-hmm.
hell? But at that time she was a janitor. So that,
Mm-hmm.
if you peek behind the I guess the sheet a little bit, and find out who these people are that are doing these things.
Mm-hmm.
They're the
Mm-hmm.
janitors. They're the people that have been through these struggles and challenges. Do you mind talking about your journey a little bit and just
Not
peeking
at all.
behind the scenes a little bit?
Yeah, not at all. No, and I think that's a really good point you bring up, is like everyone that we see that's crushing these ultra marathons. They're normally not full time ultra marathons. There's something else that they're doing behind
Correct.
that. So, you know,
Correct.
yeah. And no, for me, I mean, my journey and who I am, and I a big part of that is alcohol use disorder. So I came up in New York, upstate. Um, Born in a big family. I'm the youngest of 9 kids. That's a big part of my story. But I started drinking really young. I was 11, the first time I ever can remember going out and getting loaded. And it was a really bad scene. I got sick. I got brought home by the police. It was just like it was gnarly. And I mean, I was probably had alcohol poisoning. Looking back on it, I drank a lot that day, and I was violently ill. But I remember that, like, even as bad as it was, I remember the next day being really hungover, was thinking, like, I can't wait to do that again. Like, there was something there. The stars had aligned for briefly, and it was like, oh my God, it was imprinted on my memory of, like, pursue that. And I really thought at the time, I was like, this is great. Like, this is going to take everything that I enjoy and it's going to make it even that much more enjoyable. So I continued to drink, and I continued to drink and party throughout school and high school. And then over time, all the things that I enjoy that I thought alcohol was going to make more enjoyable, they were just dropping away and dropping away. And then it was just alcohol. So my story of alcoholism is like, it was fun in the beginning, then it was fun with problems, and then by the end it was just problems, and the fun was long gone. Um, so when everyone was making plans at the end of high school, what they were going to do with their lives, I really had no plan. Like I was going to just bounce off the bottom for a while, and I don't know. I had no direction, no plan. You know, any of my dreams that I thought I wanted to do in my life and what I thought I wanted to be were long gone. And so, out of desperation, I decided to join the military. You know, one of those stories of like, you know, not everyone joins the military on a winning streak. You know, a
Yeah.
lot of times we become this island of misfit toys, you know,
Yeah.
where it's people that maybe couldn't hack it, you know, in the real world. They're like, let me just join the military. It'll give me 4 or 5 years, you know, of adventure and a paycheck and a roof over my head and hot meal and clothes on my back. And then by the end of that, maybe I'll have a little more direction. So I decided to join the Navy. And when I joined the Navy, I made the commitment of, I'm going to give this thing everything I got. I'm going to,
So
cause I've never,
what year was this that you
not
enlisted?
1997,
1997. All right. So I
the end
enlisted
of
in 1990.
1997.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I enlisted in 98 into the Marine Corps. That's why I was just wanted to put myself into. Okay.
Nice.
97. Okay.
97, end of 97. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I went to boot camp in Great Lakes, or they call it Great Mistakes. And yeah, man, I got some funny boot camp stories. It snowed a lot there. I won't share all my boot camp stories, but I do want to share just this one in particular. Was like, it was like our
Go
first
right
week.
ahead.
It was this first week in boot camp, and they bring us. You know, we're just being led everywhere. Like we don't know anything anymore. You know, we just forgotten.
You're disoriented the entire time.
Yeah, we've completely forgotten how to function as human beings at this point, and they're just leading us everywhere, you know. And so it's like a week into boot camp, and they've led us to the chow hall. We've eaten chow, and it's so funny in the chow hall. Like I don't know what it was like in the Marine Corps boot camp, but in Navy boot camp, like you can't talk in the chow hall. You can't talk, so you have to like use like sign language. Like this was like I want pepper, this was I want salt, this was I need a napkin, you know. Like it was crazy. It was like you feel like a POW. So and we get done with evening chow, and we go out of the galley there, and we're all formed up in formation. We're ready to march back to our barracks, and it's snowing, and it's snowing hard. Like it's really coming down, and we're just standing there, and we're waiting for our RDC, our recruit division commander, this chief, to march us back to to our barracks. And we're just standing there, and we're standing there, and it's snowing like crazy. And like I don't know, 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by, 20 minutes goes by, half hour, maybe an hour. I don't know how long we're out there because you just lose track of time, right?
No.
There was literally probably 4 to 6 inches of snow on my head, you know, like it was just building up, and we're just standing there. And people were like, well, what should we do? I don't know what to do. What should we do? We got to wait for the RDC. Like, we can't march back alone. I don't even know where I'm going. Like, it was just like crazy. All of a sudden, the RDC comes running around the corner, and he's in civilian clothes, and he's like, oh my God, fall out, follow me. He'd forgotten about us.
What the fuck?
He probably ate dinner and like went home, and he was probably like, man, I'm forgetting something, you know? And then he realized like he's got like 50 people standing out in the snow waiting for him to march us back. It was like the funniest thing. I was like, it was kind of like at that moment that I was like, maybe they don't have their stuff all together here in the Navy. You know, maybe this isn't what I imagined. So I joined the Navy though with some sober time, or as I would call it, more like sobriety, where I wasn't really recovering from anything. I was just had physical sobriety.
Yeah.
I had about 8 months without a drink when I joined the Navy. And then I celebrated graduation from my technical school by going out and having a couple of drinks. But I've never gone out and had a couple of drinks my entire life. I don't know why I thought I would this time. Well, I take that back. I kind of was hoping that since I hadn't drank for 8 months, that it would be different. And it was like worse. It was worse. I was off to the races, man. I had a blackout drunk that night, did some things. I had no idea what happened. I know I had people come up to me the next day, and they're like, holy cow. They're like, now we know why you don't drink. Like, you shouldn't drink. Like, you are a mess. And I'm like, yeah, you know, slap it off. But
Is this when you were E1 or E2?
Yeah, I was like an E3 at the time.
E3. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had just gotten out of my technical school
Okay.
in California, and I was getting ready to go to my unit, my deployed
Okay.
battalion. So my first battalion was deployed to Puerto Rico, and I was going to meet them there. And
Sweet.
that sounded wonderful, right? For a young man, right? I'm like, ooh, that sounds good. So yeah, I end up going to Puerto Rico, my first deployment,
Wait, went to
and
Vieques?
close to Vegas. Yeah, Vegas was right off the coast from us. I was at Roosevelt Roads.
Yep.
Yep, and I was camp. I want to say it's called camp. Was called Camp Mosquip, and I was there in 19. It was 1990. Still 97. We're going. Yeah, yeah. Was it 98? Hell, it doesn't know. It was like 98, I think. Yeah, it was 98 at that point. Um, and so anyway, the booze was cheap, you know, and the cigarettes were cheap, and I just like went right back to boozing all the time, and was like, I discovered rather quickly that as long as I can make it to work and be halfway functional, that nobody was going to say nothing. You know, everyone was boozing like it was a party all the time. It was a
I
party.
know.
Yeah, it was insane. Like I was like, this is great. Like I'm writing, like I'm talking to people back home, like, dude, you don't know what you're missing out on. Like this is awesome. And then yeah, it was a big party. And then we ended up redeploying from there to Central America, and I lived in a tent for 4 months because of Hurricane Mitch had happened and it decimated Central America. And I was living in a tent in Honduras for about 4 months. Not one of those Gucci tents they have now, no, not like with the ones with air conditioning and all that. This thing was basically a circus tent with some mosquito netting and a cot. It was
Mm.
terrible. But that's when things started to get real. I was like, whoa, you know. So like that's been my experience like throughout the military. It's kind of like when things are good and things are soft, it's great. But when
Yeah.
things are hard, it's like, whoa, this is
They're
terrible.
horrible. They're horrible. Yeah.
So but yeah, I continued on, and I ended up going to Okinawa on another deployment, and I started to pick up rank, and I started to get my warfare qualifications, and then I interviewed and screened for Naval Special Warfare position, and I got picked up for that, and I went to Virginia, and I stayed there. I stayed in that command for 11 years, which is really unheard of. But I was a kind of like a high speed field mechanic. So they sent me through all the training. I got my free fall jump master and static line jump master and my captain's license. And I started to do a lot of maritime and ground mobility stuff for supporting the Navy SEALs. And that was a lot of fun. That was great.
I could just
And
imagine.
oh my God, it was so awesome. But at that command, I had gotten in trouble. I ended up getting a DUI, and that was actually, I had 2 DUIs before the military, so this was going to be my 3rd DUI. And I was really at the end of my rope by that point. I mean, that DUI like basically saved my life because I was really going down the tubes at this point. At this point in my life, it was like my drinking didn't look like a party anymore. My drinking looked like going home, locking the door, closing the blinds, and just drinking myself into oblivion every night by myself in an empty house. You know, it was terrible.
And this
And
is in Okinawa, or sorry,
no,
in Virginia,
this is in
right?
Virginia.
In
Yeah,
Virginia,
this is in
yes.
Virginia. Yeah. So yeah, I got that DUI, and it happened at just the like the worst possible time. Not that there's ever a good time for that, but it was the worst possible time was because I'm in jail in Maryland, and this girl that I've met through well, through MySpace of all places, and
Oh my
also
gosh, you're really
face to
dating
face.
yourself now. You're
Yeah,
dating
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yourself.
yeah, yeah. With my I was emailing her through AOL, and
Uh,
no, but yeah. So I met this girl through MySpace, and we had done instant messenger and chatting, and we stayed in touch. And I ended up going to Thailand for 30 days, and then I went back to Thailand for another 30 days, and like she's just like off the charts awesome. So I asked her to marry me, and she agreed. And she was coming to America, so she's literally flying into America in like 4 days, and I'm in jail in Maryland. And I'm like, and she's flying into LaGuardia, and I am
Holy
down in
crap.
Maryland, and I'm in jail. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like it was just the culmination of so many times of building things up and tearing them down, building them up, tearing them down over and over and over in my life. That this was finally like, I'm finally got something good going on, you know, with this girl. And like, I think I'm building a life and a future. And I built it up. And now I've really torn it all down. I've torn down 10 years of military service. I've torn down this relationship with this girl, everything. Like I am at my
Lowest.
bottom, the
Yeah.
lowest I could go, man. And I'm like, whew. I'm like, I can't wait to get out of jail because I'm going to kill myself. That was my plan. So thankfully I didn't do that.
Luckily, yes.
Yeah, luckily I was going to jump off this bridge into the river.
Wait. So you, Chris, so you actually had a
Yeah.
plan. You actually had a plan.
Oh yeah. I had a plan. Yeah, I had a plan. I remember thinking that of this really high-rise bridge that I had driven over the day before I got my DUI, and I was like, that will do it. If I jump off that, I'll be done. And then I remember thinking they're going to release me from jail somehow or another. You know, I'll get back, I'll get there, and I'll jump. And I did get released from jail, and I still have my license and everything, and I had a car. And I remember driving up towards that bridge, and then rather than going up and over the bridge, I went left. No, I went right, and I went down onto the river's edge. And I got out of the car and I sat on the river's edge, and I had like a lot of you know, my life just flashed into my eyes and all this stuff. And somehow or another, I found a bit of hope. And I said, I'm not doing it, man. I said, I'm going to get help. And I'm like, no matter what happens from this time forward, like, I don't give a fuck what happens. I'm not picking up a drink. If it goes terrible, if it goes well, which I'm pretty sure it's going to go terrible. But I'm just not going to pick up a drink no matter what. No matter what. And I'm going to get help. And that's what I did. So there was actually some weight was lifted off of me, and it was like, you know, I had a bit of peace, you know, and it was really temporary, but it was definitely there, and I felt hope. So so I went into the rooms of 12 steps. That's where I first sobered up, was in 12 steps. And I went to a rehab, and I went to court. Oh, excuse me for that. I went to court, and the judge gave mercy. Basically, I pleaded guilty to DWI, and they gave me 3 years of unsupervised probation. And if I stayed out of trouble, it all went away. So I was convinced I was going to jail for it, but I didn't even lose my license. But when all that happened, I knew there was already starting to be a change too, because the old Chris, when I got my license back, or I didn't get my license taken and I got out of it, I would have been like, yeah, fooled them again, you know, got them again. And I'll just go back to drinking again, you know. I would have went right back to my same old patterns. But the new Chris was like, sweet, I didn't get my license taken away. I can continue to go to these meetings. I can get people rides to meetings, and I can continue to recover. And I did that, you know, I stuck with it. And it wasn't always easy, man, but I'll tell you what, it's freaking worth it, because I've got a life today like beyond my wildest dreams.
For sure.
And
Well, congratulations. I know that's tough. But wait,
yeah,
96 hours. She's on her way over from Thailand. You gave me 4 days, 96 hours. You're about to get
yeah,
out. What happened in
yeah.
those 96 hours? She lands or you
I
get
got
out?
out. I got out. I ended up going back to my house in Virginia Beach. I told my boss what had happened.
So,
They were,
so within
I
those 4
got
days,
out
you
of
got
jail.
out.
Yeah, I got out. I got
Okay.
out of jail.
Okay.
Got out. I went back to Virginia Beach. I told my boss what happened. They're, of course, livid. I told them I'm also like still taking leave. I'm going to New York. I remember talking to my then girlfriend, and I was telling her what had happened. And I'm just like, I'm in tears. Like I am tore up. Like I'm figuring that my career is over and this and that. And I remember her telling me like, it's not that bad. It's like, not that bad. It's no big deal. I'm like, maybe DWI, 3 DWIs in Thailand is no big deal, but it's a big deal in America. Like I got, you know, I started getting in touch with lawyers and stuff like that. And they were telling me I was looking at doing probably a year, and yeah, it was bad. So I figured that I knew my career was over. I figured that I don't know if this girl from Thailand or not is going to stay with me, and we'll see what happens. I said, but still, I was just going to keep that commitment of like, no matter what happens, I'm not picking up the drink, no matter
Well,
what.
congratulations, man. I know that's
Yeah.
you know, it takes a lot of guts to say, um, well, first of all, you had a plan. It takes a lot of guts to say, I'm not going to follow through on that plan and I'm going to seek
Mm,
some help.
mm.
So that was in 2008, right? I assume to 10, you
Yeah,
said
that
10
was
years,
2007. Yeah,
2007.
2007. Yeah, 2007. March 31st, 2007. That's my last the date of my sobriety, I figure.
And,
Um,
and by that
go
time
ahead.
you were by that time you were a petty officer.
By that time, I was a first class petty officer taking the chief's exam. I got busted
Oh,
down. I got busted down to a second class petty officer week one, day one, and now I'm looking at higher
oh,
tenure. Like they're going to kick me out for higher tenure.
oh my
So I'm
goodness.
like, yeah. So, um, I mean, do what you got to do, man. That shit lit a fire under my ass. I buckled down. I busted my ass. I worked harder than I ever had. I never lost hope. I never got discouraged. And I thought to myself, like, I don't give a fuck. If you're gonna kick me out at 14 years, I'm gonna work my ass off until that very last day. I'm not gonna give up. So
What was the turning point for the Navy to say, you know what, we're gonna keep Norris instead of actually
well,
following through?
yeah, I think it was my attitude. You know, I owned up to the whole thing. I tried to make lemons or lemonade out of lemons. I went around and I put together a brief. I briefed everybody about what had happened. I gave them my personal experience of what had happened. I tried to become the poster boy of like, don't do this. And then I stayed sober and I worked my ass off.
Good for
So
you, man.
my first evaluation as a brand new E5 is I was the number one E5 in the command, which was and then I got a phone call in 2000, I can remember 2009. I think it doesn't. Yeah, I got a phone call in the middle of the night congratulating me that I picked up E6 again, that I was an E6 again. And I remember I was broken down into tears because that means at least I can make it to 20 years and retire and get a pension.
For
Um,
sure.
but then I continued to push and I continued to work. And I never thought I would be selected for chief petty officer because I had this big ding on my record of a DUI. But I just continued to push and continue to work. And then, yeah, 2016, I was selected for chief petty officer. And that brings us to now. And I haven't slowed down. Like I'm still super active in the recovery community. I facilitate, I facilitate 5 meetings a week right now with the pandemic on Zoom. And I used to facilitate a face-to-face meeting here in Massaua. And I create a lot of stuff like where there's gaps and where there's deficiencies. Like I just like I like to create things. Like I'm not the guy that like, I come to Japan, I'm like, oh, there's no meetings in Japan, so I guess I'm not going to go to any more meetings. And it's like, well, there's no meetings in Japan, so I should probably start one and start advertising it and see who else wants to come, you know? And that's
Yeah,
how I build
because
community.
because there's the people there that are gonna need it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh my God, there's so many people here that need it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, think about it. You're in the, irrespective of what branch of service you're in, if you're
Mm-hmm.
listening to this, we're all tough men and women. We
Mm-hmm.
know that. But we put on our uniforms and we put our, we stick our chests out and we have our brass on, our medals and whatnot. And whatever rank you are, you always want to put on your best face. And
Mm-hmm.
you are some tough mother, whether you're female or male. But at the same time, you are still in active duty right now. I was in active duty. This is not what the podcast is all about, but we could definitely have stories about the times that I've had my little fair experiences at
Mm-hmm.
18 years old, 19 years old, when you damn sure know that you're not supposed to be drinking at 18, 19 years old in the military, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I'm glad that you saw those gaps, you saw the opportunity, and you're helping folks out over there because they need it.
Yeah.
They need that help.
Yeah, it's difficult, man, because there's still the stigma surrounding it. You know, nobody wants to go around and advertise that they're an alcoholic or they're a drug addict or what have you, or they have a process addiction. You know, there's still that big stigma around mental health. And I'm trying to break that some. You know, I'm trying to be like, hey, I'm a guy that's in long-term recovery. As I say, I'm recovering loudly. I'm putting it out there. I wear a shirt to the gym that says in big letters, sober. I wear another one that says addict to athlete on the back. It says team sober, you know? It's no mystery to anybody. It shouldn't be, at least, that I'm a person in long-term recovery, and that if folks need help, they're more than welcome to approach me.
I think accountability is huge, right? Because if you're being accountable to yourself, which is good to be accountable to yourself, and if you're able to
Mhm.
manage it by yourself, that's awesome. But I think the moment you actually display it and advertise it somehow, shape, or form, correct me if I'm wrong, that's a powerful way for you to actually, that's a powerful check and balances, because now it's just like, shit, I've already displayed it to more than myself and more than my family, more than my wife.
Yeah.
More people know about it. Then they're gonna be like, hey, weren't you that dude that said that you were doing whatever you were doing and now you're not doing it?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, no, that's huge. So you're absolutely right. So whether that comes from, hey, I'm sobering up, or I'm going to go do an ultra or something like that, it's like the moment you start telling other people about it, then it becomes real. Then it's like, oh no, now, so like in the first couple of years, I was still like, I kind of want to keep it on the down low, because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, I may not stick with this thing. I don't know. I may not be in it for the long run. Things may clear up. And then someday I may decide like, oh, maybe I was just overreacting. I could probably drink again, but it's just not so. So that's why, like, I'm careful with my words, because I'm a man of my word. If I tell you I'm going to do something, damn it, I'm doing it. You know what I mean?
That's
So
true.
that's why
That's
I'm
true.
like, when people are like, so when's your first 100 miler? Because I'll tell you, I have to admit that I haven't done a 100 miler yet. I'm still working up to it, and I've been running long distances since 2015. I'm trying to be smart, because I know my personality. I know I'm the kind of guy that can easily overdo things. I have a problem with portions. so I've done 50 Ks, 50 milers. I did 100K, and then on the back wall here, you can probably still see it right there. That's
16:29.
my bib number for my first did not start. I haven't had a did not finish yet, but I've had a
Wait,
did
wait,
not start.
talk to me about that. What is a
Okay.
DNS?
A DNS is, you signed up for a race, you paid your registration, and you did not start the race. You're not at the line when the gun goes off. And the reason being is because August 9th of 2019, I was training for that map there. That's the Shinetsu 5 Mountains 110-kilometer race. We also have a 100-miler at the same time. But I was training for that, and I was up in the mountains, and something went pop in my back, and
Oh
yeah, so
no.
I had an L4, L5, 9 millimeter herniation on my
Nine,
sciatic nerve.
how many little, how many?
9 millimeters. It's
Oh my
huge.
goodness. Sorry.
Like,
Sorry to hear that.
you think of a 10 millimeter wrench. It's like just a millimeter less than that, impinging on my sciatic nerve.
I heard that. That's why I was like, can you say it again? Because I think I heard 9, but oh my
Yeah, it's
goodness. Sorry.
9. Yeah, it's like double what the average ones are. Averages are like 4 to 5. I'm an overachiever, so I went 9. But my back had been bothering me for a long time anyway, so I'm sure it's not just that training run. It was years of things that were building up. But anyhow, yeah, I was training hard for that race, and I was doing some fundraising along the way, as I like to do, and I was going to crush it. I was going to absolutely crush it. I was going to do a 27-mile training run that was going to incorporate like 11,000 feet of climbing, and it's going to be a great day. And I didn't get a couple miles into it. Something went pop in my back, and I got excruciating pain. And I'm still so out of my mind that I'm like, well, I'm going to keep going, and maybe maybe it'll feel better. Maybe I just need to warm it up a little bit, stretch it out. So I still went to the summit, and by the time I got to the summit of this mountain, I was in excruciating pain.
Oh
And
my goodness.
on the way down, it really made me nervous, as I was having a hard time controlling where my foot placements were. Like, I was getting loss of control in my leg, and like they call it, like floppy foot type syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been dealing with that ever since. I finally got a surgery for it after a lot of non-invasive treatments. Like, I did a lot of acupuncture, I did a lot of sauna, I did a lot of stretching, I did a lot of light weight work and stuff like that. But nothing was making it go away. Had just constant pain in my left leg and my left buttocks and my foot. It was just sciatica all the time. So I finally got cut on in March, and now I've been recovering from that since. I think I'm in week 12 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm feeling really good. So if the pandemic doesn't cancel this race this year, I plan to go back and do the 100 miler. There, I said it.
So what date is your 100 miler? That
If
100 miler.
if it goes, it's going to be in mid-September of
Sep-
2020, if it happens, because with the pandemic and everything. So
September of 2020.
yeah, 100
So
miles.
one thing that I like to do a lot is pace. Well, besides
Okay.
pacing, I also like to do a lot of the racing myself as well.
Okay.
But when I can't race, I like to basically support those. And the reason
Yeah.
why I asked is like, so I was in Japan 99 for 5 or 6 months, as you know, a lot of Marines go to Okinawa and also
Oh yeah.
Iwakuni.
Hmm.
And as a young 19-year-old man, I was so naive that I didn't explore too much of Japan. And I want to go back, and I need to go back.
Hmm.
Um, like yourself, I'm a man of my word. I'll put it like this: if there's no pandemic, if there's any slight chance that of me going,
Hmm.
I'm not gonna contract any virus. I'll be there to help you out.
Right on, man. That'd be
Now,
awesome.
now again, I have to say that because I want to make sure there's no virus at that time. But if it's not
Yeah.
canceled, let's talk through that. But
Okay.
what what has been your most memorable event
The
experience?
most for an ultra.
Yes.
Oh boy, that's a tough one. Um, Jeez. Because I could say like, well, my some of my toughest experiences would be like I did the Santa Barbara 9 trails, and that was a really tough ultra, and it's really famous. It runs the whole Front Range of Santa Barbara. And for me, that was really tough because it's only 35 miles, but it's like 13,000 feet of climbing. Like you're always either going up or going down. So Santa Barbara 9 trails, I think that's one of my toughest experiences. I think my most beautiful experience would be the Antelope Canyon's 50 miler.
Animal? You said animal?
Antelope, Antelope,
Antelope. Okay.
Antelope Canyons. Yeah, it's in Page, Arizona. It is, if you've ever seen the windswept caverns, the slot canyons,
Mm-hmm.
you've probably seen it's one of the most photographed places in the world. You actually get to run through that at like
No
seven
shit.
o'clock. Yeah, I got to run through it at like 7 o'clock in the morning. It's like the first 5-6 miles of this 50 miler is you're running through these slot canyons that are just awe-inspiringly beautiful.
So wait, I'm looking at a picture right now, and it seems it seemed well. First of all, it seems like something that's from like Star Wars or something. Or
Yeah.
so you actually ran through that.
Yeah, you run right through that. You run right through that, and then you come out the other side, and then you make a hard right, and you go up this hill. And then there's other slot canyons later on in the race around 20 miles into it. There's other
That is
slot canyons.
beautiful, man.
There's also, if you look at Horseshoe Bend,
Yeah,
Horseshoe Bend, you run right up to that, and that's where it's like this big like gooseneck on the river, and it's got like
yeah,
1,000-foot cliffs,
I see
and
that.
it's
Yep.
it's crazy as you run right on the edge of that thing. Like, and if you have fear of heights or whatever, it's going to be really difficult. Oh, and I was actually running up to the point where you get to where you're going to go to Horseshoe Bend, and you're at these 1,000-foot cliffs. There was not so bad, but there was a girl running back the other way, and I could see she was crying her eyes out. Like you
Oh
could
my
tell
goodness.
she was probably scared of heights, and she couldn't do it. She couldn't hack. It's gnarly though. It's gnarly. I mean, and that race is like it's kind of like there's points where like there's like 8 miles of almost like wide open, like really rough terrain where you're coming up over a hill, and then you're literally looking for a little orange flag that's like placed in the ground far out there, and you're just running towards that flag, and then find the next flag, because there's no real trail markings, because there's nothing to, there's no trees or anything in some
Hmm.
portions of it. But it was tough, man. It was a beautiful race, but it's a really tough race too. Like I trained by running on the soft sand and the beach for 12, 20 miles at a time, because the race was literally probably 30 miles of soft sand, and that made it exceptionally difficult. But that was beautiful. And then I think one of my I'm most proud of it performances is the Awadi Ginga 100K I did out here, just because I felt really good all day and I ran really well. So
How do you spell that first word?
Awadi is Iwate, and then Ginga.
Got it.
Ginga, yeah, is Ginka, I think.
Okay. Now, on one of your LinkedIn posts, you spoke about, you started to link some your experiences that you've had in the past, as far as
Mm-hmm.
your attempt to experience the temporary pleasures
Mm-hmm.
of the body and the mind,
Mm-hmm.
um, through chasing some sensory pleasures, either before,
Mm-hmm.
like you mentioned before, through alcohol, nicotine, food, sex,
Yep.
um, and something that connects us all in the ultramarathon and endurance sports,
Mm-hmm.
is chasing those sensory pleasures in different ways. Obviously, you're not doing it through consuming alcohol, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
or nicotine during the race.
Mm-hmm.
Some people that still drink afterwards, but the point is, in that article, you started to allude into that. So can you speak to me a little bit more as far as that experience
Yeah.
that you had?
Yeah, for sure. So I kind of, in a way, it's like almost the bipolar opposite of what I thought, was helpful is now helpful. So, I mean, for years, I thought that just chasing the sensory pleasures, in other words, like um, just wanting to feel good, just wanting pleasure, and then thinking that pleasure would ultimately lead to happiness. So the pursuit of pleasure in alcohol, the pursuit of pleasure in food, sex, nicotine, whatever, drugs, whatever it may be, um, thinking that if I could just get the right mixture of intoxicants into my body, like everything would align, and I would solve this problem, this dilemma, this human condition I had. So I think it's Dave Smith said it. As Dave Smith's a meditation practitioner. He said, the problem with drugs and alcohol is like it never worked. Not once did it ever work, but it almost works every single time. It's really hard to give up on something that almost works every single time. And what does it work? What am I trying to do? Well, I'm trying to change how I feel inside. You know, I'm trying to make my I'm trying to find some happiness, and I'm trying to get over my suffering and get over perhaps some past traumas or whatever it may be, that's driving me. So now it's like, rather than chasing these short-term sensory pleasures with long-term detriment, now I'm chasing this, this, I don't want to say I'm chasing suffering, but I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm not afraid to push, and I'm not afraid of some of the suffering that's accompanied with that, because I know in the end I'm going to gain long-term benefit from it. Like, I mean, just look at a hard workout. What are you going in there and doing? You're tearing muscle. You're building up lactic acid for what? For the benefit at the end.
Yeah,
So what am I doing when I'm
yeah,
drinking? I'm just taking in chemicals that are shooting into my brain and releasing a bunch of dopamine, and then, it's like, well, what's the end result of that? Well, in the end, I'm going to suffer immensely. So if I'm constantly pushing away suffering, no, I don't want pain. I don't want pain in my life. I want to be comfortable. I want to be comfortable. I want to drive my car to the strip mall. I don't even want to walk anymore. Like, how can you run that far? It must hurt, and so on and so forth. This attitude of like, just like avoiding suffering at all costs. And then in the end, you suffer immensely, while you're on, X amount of pills, and you're, 100 pounds overweight or what have you, and you're suffering, I like, it's to me, it's like, embrace that suffering, get through it, see what you're made out of. I guarantee you that, people are made, they're stronger than they ever think they are, you know? And for me, it's like, I do these things because, people are like, oh, you're crazy, man. Like, I can't believe you're going to do that. I'm like, like, and I'm thinking to myself, like, if they only knew, like, I'm scared. I'm frightened. Like, I don't think I can do it. And that's part of the reason why I'm lining up. Because I want to prove that voice that's in the back of my mind that says, like, what are you doing? Like, you ain't cut out for this. You can't do this. I want to say, sit down, shut up, and watch this. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't, if I didn't, I don't have people around me telling me like I can't, like, so I make up this like voice of opposition. I'll be honest with you. I make up like, I feel like, people don't think I can do it. Well, people probably do think I can do it, but, but I tell myself that so I can like disprove, this voice in my head that
Yeah.
no, I can do it, and I'm going to crush it, and so yeah, it's a fine line though too, man. Like, because I talk about these, athletic accomplishments and things like that, and things that I'm doing. And it's like, there's also like, I got to make sure that I'm in it for the right reasons. Like, I got to make sure that I'm not in it for self-validation and like, things like that. Because look at my situation with my back popping out. You know what I mean? That shit got me into therapy, not just physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Got me talking to the shrink, talking to people with lots of letters after their name. So, and I'm grateful for that. I went to the therapist, and I mean, they must think I'm nuts, because I went in there and I told them, I said, hey, I've been through a lot of stuff in my life and I want to talk about it. I go, but I'm really here because I've heard that unresolved trauma can manifest itself as injuries. And I got a race coming up. Like, and I need to get in shape for it. And I'm hurting right now. I'm like, I was hurting so bad. I mean, the person, they saw me at probably my worst, one of my worst, and really helped me out. But they were real interested in that. They were real interested in how important exercise was to me. Because am I just becoming cross addicted? Have I just given away the alcohol and the drugs, and now I'm just going to do exercise to an extreme level? No, I hope not.
But even if let's say if you do become addicted to exercise, because I think we all could be addicted to anything, right? It doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be drugs or whatnot, or alcohol. But I think that that addiction could be a good one, maybe. I'm not sure.
Well, it
In a way,
depends. So, I
in a
mean,
way.
am I doing it and then still doing it, then it has detriments? Am I doing it and getting injured and I continue to exercise while I'm injured? I mean, I can take the 11 criteriums of substance use disorder and replace it with exercise and be like, hey, I
I see
probably,
your point because yeah, it's just finding that balance, right? Because you don't want to go into the other side of the bell curve.
right. So then it becomes, for me at least, it's like, well, why is it? Why do you feel you need to do that? Why do I have to go out and exercise so much? Like, what is the underlying condition? What's driving this? What haven't you dealt with? Because I want to get to the point where I'm going out and I'm running and I'm doing things, yeah, to be inspirational for others and myself. But really just because it's fun. I want to have fun, man. I'm trying to,
Do
be
you feel
happy.
that you motivate and inspire people with what you've gone through? Because I think that's something powerful in itself, where your story, how you got to where you are, and the stuff that you've been doing, and also because and I'm listening to you, and I'm hearing that you have some ingredients to wellness, right? The
Mm,
wellness, a holistic wellness, where it's just mind,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
body, and also your soul in a way.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, because I think back to, I think to myself, and the way I look at people, and I get inspired. So I would imagine I'm inspiring people, and people aren't inspiring me. People continue to inspire me. I mean, when I look at like, you know, the analogies of like sobriety and ultras and stuff like that, it's like, I see the person that's just coming into sobriety, and I'm like, I'm inspired by them. I'm inspired by their courage to come in here and probably say the scariest thing they've ever had to say in their life is, I need help. And then I look at the person who's brand new, and you can tell they're relatively new by how much gear maybe they're wearing or something. And I'm like, I'm inspired by that person just as much, like the balls it takes to come to this starting line. And I know, because I'm a runner myself, everything that person had to get to that starting line. Just like I know, because I'm a person in long-term recovery, there's stuff that person had to go through to get into this room or get into this treatment program and say, I need help. It's everyone's, like you said, everyone's got a story, right? So like, you see me out there and you see me at the finish line of the ultra, like, dude, that's the end result of thousands of miles, thousands of hours, tons of mornings getting up at 3. Who gets up at 3:30 in the morning to go running, you know?
We do. We do.
Right, we do. It's like all this stuff, all this sacrifice, all this pain, all this doubt, all this stuff, you know, and 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 then like there's the end result. It's such a beautiful thing, man. Like like I when so for that race, I didn't start, but I went to the race. I picked up my bib number and I did like how you were talking about. I supported my friend
There
and
you go.
I had an awesome day. I mean, I I was like hobbling behind him trying to give him gels because I'm my back is killing me. So, but I made it to all the 8 stations. I crewed him, and I went to the finish line, and I waited at the finish line for him to come in. And it was like I thought to myself, like, man, even if I never race or run again, like I will continue to come to events like this because it's just such an emotional time. It's like it's so powerful. It's like a really heavy thing, man, to be at those finish lines.
I'm
Man.
glad. I'm glad you experienced that because I had to me, it was a very interesting conversation with somebody that was trying to understand the sport. He said, like that person said, he's like, how is that a sport when it's just a single person running and you're
Mm,
competing against other people? I'm like, first of all, you're not competing against anybody. You're pretty. It's a community. They're like, how
mhm,
is it a community? You have a first place winner. I'm like, yeah, of course you're gonna have first
mm,
place, second place. You have a ranking order. Of course you do. Just because that's, I guess how sports function in a way. But I give them, I give them a high level as far as the community atmosphere that I
mhm,
personally enjoy compared to marathons, where marathons are just out there, like I said before, to just crush your PR. Yeah, you have PRs in ultra marathons, but it's very different, right? You're out there to support each other through your struggles, through your finish line.
mm,
But then another thing that I said is I said, okay, yes, he or she is running by themselves to achieve whatever distance that they have. But along the way, I guarantee you, there's a freaking army, a crew just
mhm,
supporting the shit out of them. One, physically,
mhm, mhm,
because physically you're just beat up to hell.
mhm.
Emotionally, because emotionally you're just all fucking torn the fuck up. Uh, mentally, because mentally you're just not there. I know I
Mhm.
hallucinate, and when I hallucinate, when I get to the run, my runner's high is hallucination.
Oh God.
And oh my gosh, yes, yes. And that hallucination, I kind of seek it, to be honest with you. Once I'm there, I'm just full throttle because I know that
Mm,
I'm gonna get there. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that you have a full army. So I'm glad that you got to experience that. So talk to me about that experience for you because I know you were number one, you were in pain. Now you're
mhm,
there supporting your buddy through the
mhm,
finish line.
mhm.
What are the things that you kind of saw from that side of the fence on your side that you
Yeah, I really, I enjoyed helping them out. I mean, it's just such a great thing, and I treat it like it's like a military operation, man. You know, like I'm in it, like I got it all set up. Like I would come in and have it all set up, and I would know where everything was, and I'm like, here's where you're gonna like have it plotted out. Like here's where you're gonna sit, and I'm gonna give you this, I'm gonna give you that, and this. You need anything? You need anything? You want me to rub your feet? What do you want me to do? You know,
yeah,
like it
yeah.
was like, and he's like, sometimes I had to back off. He's like, "Oh, you're a little intense. Like, just give me a quesadilla and shut up." Yeah, and
Quesadilla, shut up.
so like, but yeah, man, I was just, it's like you're right. It's just like such a group effort, and like it reminds me so much of like that camaraderie and that tribe that you find in the military. You know, I equate it like going out to these ultras is like going into battle. You know, and we all have this common adversity, and we're all driven toward each other rather than away from each other. You
Yeah.
know, and someone had said something to me once, a race director at a starting line at a turkey trot, half marathon trail run, and it stuck with me. I was new to trail racing, and it stuck with me. And I think I made a post about it on LinkedIn. It stuck me so much. As he said, and remember, we're not competing against each other out there. We're competing with each other. And I was like, whoa, man, I like that. That's cool, you know? So like I've never heard so many like, good job all day long. Good job. You look great. Good job. Even though you look like complete dog shit. You're like, you look great. You look strong. You're like hobbling in like the Tin Man, you know? No, you look so strong. But it's also just great is like you get to race the same exact course as the elites. Like you're in there, you're gonna see them. You're probably gonna see them on their way back when you're on your way out somewhere. But
That's
it's like
true.
so cool. You're at the starting line with these people that are like, you know, these are the elite athletes. Name another sport where Joe, average Joe can go line up on the same starting line as an elite athlete and race the same exact race,
On the same exact day,
on the same exact day,
same conditions, same weather.
same everything.
Yeah, that is a valid fucking point.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That is a valid point. You know, it seems that you're very comfortable with struggling,
Mm.
and it seems that you're very comfortable navigating through struggles and also problem solving on your feet, which takes a lot of guts to know how to get out of that comfort zone. What do you make about that comfort zone and the struggle, from your perspective?
So I think the big thing to keep in mind with struggles and stuff like that is the impermanence of it all. Like that, not everything is going to last. Nothing lasts forever. It's
Hmm.
like when you're going through the bad times, it's like it's important to remember that this shit won't last. That's a much more difficult concept to grab onto when you're going through the good times. Is this shit
Yeah,
won't last either.
yeah.
But so it's like just knowing that things are going to constantly change and that you can just make small adjustments. And yeah, man. So yeah, but the struggles in life, a lot of it too is like, am I creating my own suffering? Am I creating my own struggles? What am I like? Where's my head at? Because a lot of times if my head is too far into the future or mired in the past, I'm not where I need to be, brother. I need to be
Hmm.
right here, right now. Like, what's
Hmm.
going on right now? What can
Hmm.
I do right now? What can I do that control in my wheelhouse right now? Because, it's easy, especially nowadays, man. I mean, there's a blanket of anxiety surrounding the planet with this pandemic. People are hurting. I get
Yeah,
it. Folks
yeah.
are struggling financially, and it's a lot of fear, and sometimes that fear manifests as anger and finger pointing and put your mask on and all this stuff, and
Yeah,
it's
you've
like,
seen the freaking news where it's just people unfortunately are like what you just described. It's just like put your mask on, and then all of a sudden now manifested into like a brawl fight, right? I think that's what you're alluding to, right? That's what you're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it's important for me to remember like that what that stuff is, what anger and what rage really is, and it comes either from a place of like fear, sadness, despair, something of that nature. Like I've always been told that anger is a secondary emotion. So when I'm angry, I got to feel like, what am I mean, for me, I'm like, what am I scared of? What's going on? What's
Hmm.
going on? So, and like, I have anxieties too, man. It's like, it's but I'm trying to do exactly what I said, is that I'm just trying to control what I can control, and what I can't control, I just need to let go of that, man. I need to let go of it because I never had control anyway. I might have some illusion of control in my mind, but it was never really there. So every day, man, I'm waking up and I am doubling down on self-care and tripling down on communication, because this social distancing thing, you know, I would rather say, rather than social distance, let's just physical distance. Put your goddamn mask on. But keep
So
talking.
so for as an aspiring addiction counselor, what kind of advice or tips would you have or can you give to either athletes out there, your common folk out there, endurance athletes that are listening to this and they may feel like, hey, I hear Chris, and what
Mhm.
can I do today to actually help my situation out, or military folks, or if they're listening to this as well, or just pretty much anybody out there that's listening to this stuff.
Yeah, I would say the first thing you can do for yourself is reach out to somebody. Reach out to somebody that's in long-term recovery, and share that stuff and get it off your chest, man. Get whatever's going on, get it off your chest, get it off your shoulders. Problems shared or problems halved, and that's like the strength in sobriety. A lot of it comes from community. It's like we're able to bolster each other up, and it's like we're like this pack mentality. And like when if you don't, you're a zebra on the plains, and if you don't want the lion to get you, you need to get into the center of the pack.
So
You
speak to
know,
me a little bit more on that, because a lot of people may say, I'm strong enough, I don't need, that's for weak people. They may come up with I don't know, some excuses, I guess. And
If that's going to work for them, man, for me, it's like that didn't work. But, so I don't want to say that my way is the only way, because there's millions of ways to get into a substance use disorder. So there's got to be at least a couple thousand to get yourself back out of it. There are people out there that they call it a natural recovery, where they don't need, programs and stuff like that. And I wish them all the luck in the world. I just talk on like based on my experience.
Yeah, of
And
course.
now based on my experience, and based on also like, the things that I've been studying for the last couple of years and such, like where, you know, my experience has been that I need a program. I need all these self-care things I'm putting in my life, and I need community. And I need some type of path to follow, you know. And it doesn't have to be a linear path, like 12 steps is a very linear path. It can be like more like Four Noble Truths, or the Eightfold Path of Buddhism. I'm sure you've seen this guy looking over my shoulder the whole time.
Yep.
So I'm big into that, man. And that's what I'm using Buddhist principles and practices right now to bolster up my sobriety and my recovery. I love it. It's brought up a daily meditation practice to my life, which has just changed my brain. Literally, talk about neuroplasticity. It's literally changed my brain. I am much calmer and able to deal with stress, and I'm just in a better mood, and I'm more friendly and outgoing than I've probably been in my whole entire life. So, yeah, I love it.
Well, that's pretty cool, because I know that I've met a lot of people that always say, oh, that's for weak people or whatever. But like you said, hey, if that's their choice, right, to live that way, then
well, yeah, I guess. I mean, if having a program and getting sober is for weak people, and this person's saying that they don't want to go into a program because it's for weak people, yet they can't stay sober, then that sounds like a healthy bit of denial and just wanting to stay sick. Because make no doubt about it, getting sober takes a lot of courage, because
of course,
as miserable as being an active addiction is, it's like, it's familiar, so when you're sobering up, as my experience is like, I wasn't too sure like what the other side of that looked like. So when I come into sobriety, and as I say, I was unconsciously incompetent. I had no idea what I didn't know. And then once I became consciously incompetent, now I know how much I don't know. That's when things become really fucking scary, because I didn't know how to live without alcohol. I didn't know who I was. I had no idea. I had been drunk for 2/3 of my life by the point that I decided to sober up. So that's the point when I've reached it a couple of times during my active alcoholism, where I was like, I'm going back, man. I'm going back to the drink, because I don't know how to do this. So the last time in 2007, I said, when I made that commitment, I'm never gonna, no matter what, I'm not picking up a drink, no matter what. I said, I gotta just figure this out, and I couldn't figure it out on my own. I had to have help. I had to have professional help, and I had to have self-help groups, and it took what it took, man. And it wasn't pretty, that's for sure. I was a hot freaking mess for about 5 years, I would say. And then things slowly, surely started getting better and better. And now I'm at 13 years sober, and I never think of picking up a drink. Like that's not
awesome.
even in the cards, dude.
That's
like,
awesome.
Now it's like I'm still dealing with the human condition and just working things out. But I look at my life today, and it's like, man, never had it so good, because I could talk about like I'm here, I'm living in Japan. I got my career back, that I thought was in shambles. The girl I wasn't too sure was staying. We've been married for 13 years, got a 7-year-old daughter, happy. The dog, I bought 2 dogs when I was like newly sober. Not a good idea. They're still alive. So that's nice. Success. Nice. And then, I'm doing well financially. I'm going to be a college graduate here soon and onto a master's, and who knows, maybe onto a PhD and all that. And yeah, so I say all that, and then I always want to say at the end is like, the biggest thing though that I got today though, man, is I'm comfortable in my own skin. Like I know who Chris Norris is, and I love Chris Norris today. And yeah, man, it's great. I'm so
And that's
stoked.
why, and that's why I was asking about the comfort zone, because it seems like you're very comfortable in your own skin right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're also very comfortable knowing your limits and going beyond that, and
Mm-hmm.
knowing how to control that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so your career, are you going to retire? You're obviously going to retire from the Navy, but are you going to go to
Yeah.
senior, or you're just going to, you think you might stop where you are right now?
No, I'm gonna stop. I'm done. So I'm having fun spelled backwards. That's enough. So it's been a great ride, but you know they said you'll know when to hang it up, and I'm knowing it's time to hang it up. And I mean I'll hit higher tenure anyway. I had 24 years. I don't intend to pick up senior chief, and it's okay. Like I've gone farther than I thought I would. So I'm happy. You know, this is a young man's game, and I'm getting up there, and I'm literally aging myself out of the military. You know, and I'm still though. I'll tell you what, I could still like whip about 99% of these fools. Like, I have no idea. We had a plank competition one day when I first got
Yeah,
here. Yeah,
yeah,
the captain was like, we're gonna do something different today. And it was around the holidays, around Christmas
yeah.
time. He's like, we're gonna have a plank competition. Whoever can hold the plank the longest will get tomorrow off. And I was like, oh, game on. And they're all looking around the gym. There's all these buff dudes, you know, they're all ripped and stuff. And they're not thinking old man Smithers there in the back corner with the white hair and the glasses like is gonna be anything, because I was kind of new to the command. But yeah, we went, and I knew like this is my game, dude. Like
How long did you last?
I went 8.5 minutes.
Ah, so you won.
Yeah, I won.
Holy shit.
And I remember there was a young kid, I call him kid, young man, probably 23, 24 years old, across the gym, and it's just him and I, down to him and I, and I'm just sitting there, and I've been expressionless the whole time, and then I just look over at him and I smile. I started getting in his head, man, and I told him, I said, I could do this all day long. And it wasn't a minute later he dropped.
He dropped.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your head real quick. When you're in the middle of these ultras that you've done in the past,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a picture of you looking down, and it seems that you have a lot in your mind. Um, right? I think you know which picture I'm
Yeah.
talking about. It's a very
Yeah.
colorful depiction of your thoughts while you're on the race. Can you bring me back to that moment, or just kind of a collection of your experiences of things that you think about while you're
Well, yeah. So something I've incorporated into my racing is have fun, have a lot of fun,
okay?
be joyful, be very joyful. And I first like this kind of discovered this late in the game. Was just the Iwadi 100K back in June of 19, I think it was. Um, I was running, and there was this little Japanese man. He's running next to me. We're running, and we're cooking, man. We're doing like a 720 mile, which is really fast during
Holy
100K.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're cooking down this hill. We're running, and he runs up next to me, and I look at him, and like I've got I've got some gear. I've got the vest. I've got the hat. I got the standard gear, right? I look over, and
You look like a
I
champ.
look like an ultra runner. I look over, and he's got on like a collared polo shirt, like some jeans with like, or not jeans, but shorts with like, a little bit holy, and some really beat up shoes. And he's carrying one single small water bottle, like literally a water
A
bottle,
plastic.
or a plastic water bottle you would get at the corner store,
What
And he
mile
looks
was
at,
this?
oh, we were at mile 20 or something. We're a
Oh my
little ways
God.
into it.
Okay.
And he says to me, he's like, he goes, "Are you happy?" I said, "Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy." He goes, "Happy. Happy is strong. Strong is happy." And then I followed this guy through the aid stations for probably about another 3 or 4 miles, and he was the happiest son of a bitch I never met in my life. Like he was waving and dancing and yelping and talking to all the aid workers and everyone on the side of the road. And I'm like, this guy is ecstatic. And I'm like, I'm gonna take that on board. happy is strong, strong is happy. For the rest of the day, I'm going to be the happiest son of a gun. Even when I was suffering, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm great, you know? And I was like just doing silly stuff. I was making videos along the way, and I was just being silly, you know? But, and I had a great race and I felt great. So I think tapping into that joy, you know, and trying to stay present in the moment, you know, I tend to like, you start to suffer, right? And you're like, oh my God, I'm hurting so bad. And then for me, the next thought would be like, and I've got 30 miles to go, you know, how can I even do this? You know, so it's important for me to stay in that mile, you know, just as translates to life, you know, stay in the
For
day.
sure.
Yeah.
So before I let you go, talk to me about the experience in the Japanese culture, as far as now I'm saying culture, not just the Japanese
Mm-hmm.
culture in itself, but just the ultramarathon scene in Japan compared to the United States, from your perspective, because you've been there, you
Yeah.
live there right now, and
Mm-hmm.
what you just highlighted right there with that gentleman, obviously
Mm-hmm.
gentleman running in polo
Mm-hmm.
shorts, in a polo
Yeah.
shirt, with
Yeah.
one small water bottle, while you're like in a freaking full fatigues and just running out there. Seriously, talk to me about your experiences. How does that juxtapose to the U.S. running scene?
Well, I think, you know, as far as just running in general here in Japan, they're not as used to seeing it. You know what I mean? Like they're not used to like seeing a runner on the road or a bicyclist on the road. Like it's either that or they're just really restricted where they don't want to get it into somebody else's lane because like they don't give you very wide berth here. I did notice that right away. They're also not used to seeing trail runners on the trails. Like they're not used to that, and you have to be very respectful because they're really into, you know, respect and being giving each other their space and not um, trampling on someone else's experience. So it's like in America, it may be no big deal to like run past somebody and on a trail. Here in Japan, you know, really encouraged to stop, to walk past people, to say hello and be cordial, be nice, be kind. And as far as the racing, they do some things that I'm just like scratch my head, you know, like they have like this cold spray. You ever see that stuff? It's this cold spray, and they want to like spray it on your legs, and they want to spray it on your muscles, and it's
Oh,
really like,
like
yeah,
cold
like
spray
a,
for your, yeah.
yeah. Like they're all over that stuff, and I'm like, get out of here with that. Don't spray any chemicals on my legs, thank you. I'm trying to keep the chemicals out of my body. Um, that they're really into the food. The food at the aid stations is like phenomenal. It's like
Talk.
awesome.
What is
It's
it?
like rice. They have like rice balls. They'll have like good
Oh,
soups. They'll have like plums and all the fruits and all
oh,
that. It's like really good. Yeah. Like during the Shinetsu, they had aid stations with like curry and like full on meals. And they also had places where you could go and say, at the one aid station, you could go up inside this building up on the second floor and go to sleep. They had beds for you during the ultra if
oh.
you want to
So
take a little nap.
that's kind.
Of course, you got to take your shoes off though. It is Japan,
Of
so
course, your muddy shoes.
yeah, yeah. But they're, I mean, it's good here, man. They're very friendly. You know, they're really, yeah. They've got a lot of spirit. They're really, I've noticed too, is they're really into compression clothes. Like they wear a lot of compression sleeves and tights. I don't know what that is. It's always like tights with shorts over it, which is kind of different than what I'm used to in the States. But it's good here, man. They're very, you know, very soft spoken, very honorable people, you know, and they're really low key too, you know, like in the States, they're like, is there going to be a medal at the 5K? Like, it's not like they want a big like dinner plate because I ran 5 kilometers. Here in Japan, don't be surprised you don't even get a medal. Don't be surprised if you just did a 100-mile race and there's no medal at the end. There's no trophy. There's maybe a t-shirt, perhaps a sweat towel.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So they're not big
Into
into the jewelry.
swags. Into
Yeah,
yeah,
into
yeah.
swag. They actually make it at the Tohoku Food Marathon. Like if
The
you're
hook.
an American, Tohoku Food Marathon. If you're an
Okay.
American, they have a special tent that you go over to that has medals. They'll give you a wooden medal. Here you
No
go.
shit.
Yeah, since you're a
But
foreigner, because they know how much foreigners are into it, but I don't think the Japanese get them.
that is very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not.
I've been seeing a lot of virtual races that are being had right now,
Right. Right.
and people are getting bibs and getting medals. It's just you
Yeah.
know, again, to each their own.
To each their
Um,
own.
I mean, I also joined a Jerome. You know, Jerome.
Uh-huh.
He invited me over to participate in a virtual race with New Jersey Trail Series. I was like, you know what? I decided to
Yeah.
do like 1,000 mile on my own just to kind of just
Yeah.
pass the time. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you know, what, I'm already doing this anyways. Let me just hop on. And they're also giving me some swag, some medals. I was like I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting it, but
It's
whatever.
cool. I mean, to each their own, and I get it. It's important. I don't want to bag on anybody for that because I have a drawer full of medals. Maybe someday I'll hang them up. I don't know. But I mean, it's funny. Is like I don't hang up my accomplishments. I hang up my failures.
Well, I think that's
I'm hanging up my did not start.
well, that's one thing that you because I saw the Western Time film that you mentioned,
Yeah. Hmm.
and you know, the beginning of the series or of the video, she talks about the mountain, right? How a
Hmm.
mountain
Yeah.
just is symbolic of the challenges that we all face in
Yeah.
life, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's your mountain right there. That's just
Yeah.
that's your summit. You know that's what you got to work on to
Yeah.
get there.
Mountain
Um,
makes you stronger. As they said, the mountain makes you stronger.
for sure.
Yeah, there's so many great lines in that movie. I mean, I damn near became obsessed with it. So my first ultra was the ultra that's featured in that movie that she did for a qualifying race, the Sean O'Brien. I did the Sean O'Brien 50K,
Mm-hmm.
and then Billy Yang, who made Western Time, was out there making another film, and I saw him on the trail, and I stopped, and I was like, "Are you Billy Yang?" He's like, "Yeah." And he's kind of like, "I'm kind of like busy right now, making a film." And I was like, "Your movie Western Time is the reason I'm out here. This is my first ultra." And he was like, "Oh my God, it's your first ultra?" So he actually took pictures of me on his iPhone and then emailed them to me later on. So that
Oh,
was
that's
really cool.
sweet, dude.
Yeah, he's
That's
cool.
sweet.
Yeah,
That
and
is
then
really sweet.
I met Sally McRae at a race too. I basically fawned over her as well and told her like how much she's inspired me. There's so many like great lines in that movie. I like the one where she's talking about at the beginning of the Sean O'Brien 50, where she says that so many people believe in me. Why can't I believe in myself? And then at that moment, when the gun goes off, she makes the decision to be courageous and to believe. And I'm like, man, I'm like tearing up just thinking about it. So like, there's those moments in life, right? And it's like you just got to send it, man.
You
You
know,
got
those
to
are
be vulnerable and you got to believe.
the character, the moments that build us as build our characters, right? So,
Mm,
like she said in that series, those are the moments that build her character, especially like you said right there, your DNS.
mm-hmm,
Shit, I know that my DNFs, they've helped me. You know, I talk about those a lot. They're like, you
mm-hmm.
know, I think my wife recently, she's like, hey, let's consolidate all of your bibs and medals. I'm like, okay. And she's like, she's trying to rank them in order, and I'm like, speak to me about your process here. She said, well, you've done the Vermont 100. Let's put that up there. I'm like, okay. But I'm like, what about this one? She's like, but you didn't finish that one. I'm like, but that's the one that I'm most proudest of. She's like, how, what? Well, how? I'm like, well, first of all, I blacked out. And because I blacked out,
Cool.
I learned how to not black out. You
Wow.
know? So anyways, it's I think those peaks right there, those mountains, those challenges that we face are the ones that build our character. So it
Yeah,
seems like you
for
have a
sure.
pretty strong character, my friend. So
Thank you.
uh, I'm gonna let's keep in touch because I want to make sure that if I'm able to eat some nice rice balls and make sure that you don't get any chemicals sprayed on your legs, I'll be more than glad to you know respectfully say no. He doesn't need any of this stuff. You know.
Right on. That'd be awesome.
All right, Chris.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to leave the you know anybody who's listening to this as far as the military or runners to help them out with some of the struggles that they may be going through, or some things that they could seek alternative, like you chose you know endurance races to as an alternative. So
Yeah, I would, if you're struggling, I would encourage you to reach out. And I know it's hard, man. I know it's hard to reach out. I know, like, sometimes every fiber in my being is telling me not to tell anyone about this and to figure it out on my own and this just, isolate away. And it's, just wasn't going to work out. So if you're struggling, you know, it's important to reach out. So reach out to somebody, anybody, and get it out there, man. Because, you know, shoot, if I can do it, I believe you can do it as well. And I believe in you, and I have hope for you. And if you don't believe in yourself, you can borrow my belief, and you can borrow my hope until you get some of your own.
Awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So you're listening to Chief Petty Officer Christopher Norris over in Japan. I want to make sure I don't mess this up. Misawa, Japan. Thank you so much. This is again Luis Ramirez on the Conversation podcast, and appreciate it, Chief Petty Officer. Oh, sorry. Take care.
Thanks, Luis.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, later, dude.